Hello everyone. It's Amy Bolton here. Live healthy, be happy. I'm excited to be here today with you to talk about overwhelm and anxiety. So some of the big things that come up postpartum, when we're struggling after having our little ones. So let me know if you can relate to anything. If you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments if there's anything that you can relate to, or if there's anything that you would, any of your experiences that you'd like to add to the conversation. So, overwhelm is a big topic, and it happens to a lot of us as new mothers. I know even day to day, to this day, I am always working on, finding that balance, that calm, that peace, right? So I know it's there, I know it's possible, and that overwhelm sometimes creeps in, that anxiety sometimes creeps in, and I know that it can be really challenging as a new mom to have that overwhelm and that anxiety creeping in and making you feel, whatever. Like, anxiety can make us feel so yucky and so tired and exhausted and drain us out. And then the whole side of having panic attacks and that sort of stuff, it's just not fun. It's not very fun. So there's so many things that it just makes so ugly in our lives. I know in my life, the overwhelming pieces have been just kind of taking on too much. So having so many things going on, from, offering to volunteer to too many things. As moms, we're like givers, right? So we're always, I tend to always be like, giving and doing so much and caring for so many others. We're caregivers. We care for so many people in our lives, and so many, our children, our partners, our parents, our siblings, etc. So sometimes we end up caring so much. And in my life, so many volunteering activities and other commitments and other things going on between my job, between my own business, between, I'm trying to find that balance of like caring for myself, right? And it just, everything can get so overwhelming and too much. And, or an example is like the house just getting so overwhelming. And I tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist, and I feel like a lot of women who I've spoke to, I wouldn't say that everyone is, but a lot of women who are struggling with postpartum depression and anxiety tend to be on the side of perfectionism to a certain degree. So we have tendencies where it's like you get really overwhelmed when the chaos comes of having a child and things are not the way we expected. So I know I always go back to this because this was a big thing for myself, is the expectations that I had prior to having my children. And, I thought it was going to be this way or that way. And then the overwhelm that comes with that, right? So I was so overwhelmed with all of the things that were going on, all of the new things that I had to learn, and just the massive amounts of toys and things, like I remember thinking when we lived in a smaller house, I could just go around and clean it up within 15 minutes, a half hour. It was simple, done. And that was like mopping the floors, doing all the dishes. Like it was not just tidy, it was clean. And after having a baby, that is a total different situation, right? Like it can be very overwhelming if I let it get to me. So there's lots of different examples of way a person could get overwhelmed, or the way that I've gotten overwhelmed in the past. And like I say, this is like an ongoing thing that we're always working with. And so I'll give you some tools that you can use to kind of dig a bit deeper and figure out what's going on. And these are some of the tools that we'll be using in the Postpartum Support Circle, and some of the tools that we'll dig a bit deeper with, right? So there's so many factors when it comes to anxiety and overwhelm, and it's going to vary from person to person. So that's where it's very important to work with somebody specifically so you can dig a bit deeper and figure out what is actually contributing to your overwhelm and your anxiety, because we're all different, right? So it may be a different factor that's in your life. Like I say, diet is a huge one, and digging a bit deeper. And now diet's going to look different for all of us. We're all bio-individuals. We're all different people. Our bodies react differently to different foods, right? One person's food may be another person's poison. So that's a big factor. Stress is a big factor. So stress is going to impact us all differently, and stress is relative, right? So somebody who may experiencing something that's really, really stressful may not be as stressful to another mother, right? I know, for example, my sister, she's been around a lot of the things going on in my household. So, for instance, when she has children, I don't know, I guess I'm making a big assumption here, but I'm trying to give you a comparison. She may not find it so overwhelming because she is more exposed to some of those things, right? Just, it's going to be different for everybody. And I would think that would be the case. Whereas with myself, I honestly was not around any babies, any people. And I know my baby, my daughter, was one of the first babies I had ever held in my entire life, right? I'd babysat like older children, but never any little newborn babies or any really, really young babies. And I'd never really been around any children like that. So that's a big factor. The differences in our lives and our lifestyles, and we're all going to be different. And that's always important to remember. So anxiety is ultimately the result of not listening to a lot of the earlier warning signals. So like I said, like diet, stress, like listening to our body and what is going on, right? And it can happen so fast that we're not even aware of it, or we're just with what's going on in our life, we're not even aware of what's going on. So as you get more and more overwhelmed, anxiety can be a result of all of that, right? And it's not fun. We don't want to be there, right? And let me know in the comments if you're watching the replay or whatever. Let me know if you can relate to that and if you've experienced that overwhelming anxiety. And I know I go back to the example of having a really bad panic attack that I wasn't even aware of what it was while I was working, and I was working in the clinic in the pharmacy, and it was so overwhelming and so terrifying. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I was talking to the nurses, and they made sure that I got all checked out and everything, and it was fine. And it resulted to lots of stress, anxiety, and it was a panic attack, right? So I know it can be very terrifying and scary if we're not listening to our body ahead of time. And definitely that's the place I was. I was postpartum the first time around with my daughter, just starting back at work, a year in, not even aware that, I was struggling at that point. So what can you do? So what we can do is listen, okay, what is our body telling us? And this is what I'm trying to get more and more in tune with these days as well. So what is going on and what is it telling us? Are there certain things that are going on ahead of time that we can kind of tune into and be aware of that's happening? One of my favorite books, it might be propping my phone up right now, is Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Yeah, it's right there. And it's in my recommended reading on my website, amybolton.ca, and just under recommended reading, I have that book under there. I believe I do. If not, we'll pop it in there. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And it's a really good book because you can go in and you can kind of find, okay, what's going on. I know recently, for an example, is since Halloween and since the winter has kind of hit, I've been getting lots of sinus kind of things going on. So colds, flus, and sinusy issues. So I looked in there, and it was very helpful for what was going on in my mindset. So it connects to what you're thinking, to what's happening in your body. And a lot of the time our own intuition will tell us what's going on and what we need to do, right? So thinking about, where is there somewhere that you need to slow down? Is there somewhere where you're just doing too much and you're just getting overwhelmed? Is there something you need to say no to? That's one thing in my life, is I've had to learn to say no, and it feels like it's been like ongoing and ongoing, and there's always something else that I need to learn to say no to, right? So setting those boundaries, that's a big one that we work on in the Postpartum Support Circle, is setting boundaries and saying no to things so we're not getting so overwhelmed, right? That's a big one, is saying no, and finding what feels right, what feels comfortable for you, right? So let me know if any of this is making sense, and let me know if you've experienced any of it, you can relate to any of it. I'd love to read your comments and chat with you guys about this. So a lot of this is what we'll be talking about inside the Postpartum Support Circle. I am very passionate about this, and I would love to have you apply to be a part of it. We'll put the link in the comments, and you can get in there, and I encourage everybody just to go and apply. Even if you're not committed yet and you don't know if you're going to be part of it or not, it's going to be such a powerful group of women supporting one another, connecting with one another, healing, learning from each other's stories, being able to tell your story in a safe place, and learning tools to help you heal in your own journey. So lots of tools to help you get past that overwhelm, that anxiety, that exhaustion, that all these things that come with motherhood that we're not expecting, working through those expectations that we may have had, and they may be different for a few of us, and there's going to be pieces of everyone's story that you're going to hear that's going to connect you to your own and make you feel grounded as a woman, as a mother, and understand your story as a mother a bit more. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'm excited about the Postpartum Support Circle. It is actually, the deadline is tonight. We're closing at midnight Pacific time, so apply as soon as possible. Talk to you later.